Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I went from this to this in just a little under 7 months. Stick around to find out how. Good morning everybody. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet and all things related to the carnivore diet and a few other miscellaneous odds and ends. Today I'm going to go over some of the questions that I got in my comments, plus a few common questions that I see out there on the internet on several other groups. First, I want to say welcome to everybody. I'm glad you're here. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you stopped by. If you're a returning viewer, I'm also very glad that you're here. Today, we're doing the Longleaf Trail out to that campground, and then we'll see how I feel from there. I'll either just turn around and come back and make it about a 4-mile day, or I'll go up the steps and come back the old wagon path and make it about a 5.5-mile day. The only residual after effect I have from that little cheat I had a couple of days ago is my nose had finally started to clear up. The skin on my nose is always broken out. And now I know why, because it was starting to clear up. And I put a little sugar in my system, and now it's all wonky again. So, just another positive reinforcement of why I shouldn't have sugar. But, yeah, somebody commented that the trails looked fairly clean last time I was out here. And I do believe, I won't even say once a week, but every so often, or maybe just once in the fall, they come out here and run the leaf blower over these trails. Because the first few times I've been out through here, I've been tripping over the roots. They were hidden underneath the leaves. And now I can see most of them. So, whoever does the maintenance on these trails does a pretty darn good job. But, as you can see, I'm coming up on the section of this trail where I have to sort of pay attention to what I'm doing. So I will be back with you shortly. Of course, with the magic of editing, it'll be like I was never gone. Here I am, back just like I was never gone. I'm sort of approaching the campground where I sit down and take my first break. But I thought, since the trail's mostly easy from here, because we're over on the sand trail, this is actually the road that the Longleaf Trail joins up with. And this is the little dirt, gravel, sand road that you use to get back into the primitive camping area, which is where I usually sit down and take my first break. But of course, the most common question that I see out there from people, and most of these, you can tell by the way they tone their question, that they're just trying to stir the pot. But some of you may not actually be aware. So the overriding question is, what about vitamin C? Well, first off, if you don't cook your meat to death, you got a nice medium to medium rare roast or steak, you're getting vitamin C out of that. And there is vitamin C in ground beef as well. Even the way I cook it, it's less, because I like my ground beef crispy, but there's still a little bit of vitamin C in there. And I don't know the science behind it. All I know is I've heard several of the people I listen to and respect say that as long as you're not dumping carbs down your throat on a daily basis, your body doesn't need nearly as much vitamin C. Now, if you're really still worried about it, you can take a supplement, but most people know I'm not a big fan of supplements. Beef is my supplement. And if carnivores were going to get vitamin C deficient and develop scurvy, which is, what all the people from the other side of the aisle say, well, how long does that take? Dr. Sean Baker and Dr. Barry have both been doing this, 5 years and 7 years. Kelly Hogan's on, I think, year 14 or 15. And that guy that Professor K interviewed, I can never remember his name, been doing it for 39 years. None of them have scurvy. So, when does this vitamin C deficiency and scurvy kick in on an all-meat diet? I don't know. So, I wouldn't really worry about vitamin C. But that's the first question out of the way. And I wanted to do one question while I'm doing my 2-mile warm-up section where this trail's a little easier. And I don't think I've actually showed much of this to you. You've seen pictures, but I don't think I've actually given you a bob cam view of this road. So that's sort of why I wanted to cover a question there. Okay, guys. I'll see you on up the trail at the campground. Once again, through the magic of editing, it'll be like I was never gone. Here I am out at the primitive campground. Give you a quick turn around here so that you can see. I was all set up to sit on the other side of the bench and then realized the sun was going to be pushing straight into the camera, so I came to the other side of the bench. So, next question is, when can I expect all this energy that people keep talking about? Well, for me it happened at 4 months. It's when I started walking. You have to, the way I understand it, not everybody, but most people don't experience the huge boost in energy until they are totally fat adapted, which can take, I'm told, anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. And then you'll see your energy levels go up. If you're pretty sure you're completely fat adapted, you can try some electrolytes. There's some good ones out there. You can make your own. You can just start by adding more salt. You may not, because we've been told our entire lives, don't eat too much salt. It's really hard for people to up their salt. But especially when you're first starting out, I don't remember who it was. I just watched a really good video on this, but it was, I've got a link to it in my Facebook group. It was Dr. Ben Bickman, who was saying that not getting enough salt early in a carnivore diet can actually keep your insulin levels high, and not getting enough salt even once you're fully fat adapted can cause another insulin spike. I'm not sure how all the science stuff behind that work. Go join my Facebook group and check out that video, or just search Dr. Bickman's site. But he has a really good video on salt. And if it's not just salt, you can go ahead and add other electrolytes. There's the daily mineral drops from Keto Chow, Drink LMNT. They say Drink Element, but it's Drink LMNT. They're both a little on the pricey side, but not horrible. Especially, like I like the Keto Chow's mineral drops the best, because you can decide how much of it you want to put in your drink. You can try just a few drops up to a couple of dropperfuls and see what works best for you. Where the drink element comes in pouches that you're supposed to dump in your bottle of water. And I suppose you could, dump some of the powder in and save the packet and see how that goes, but that seems like it'd be pretty hard to measure how much you're putting in. But, if you're used to it and you want the whole pouch in your bottle of water, if you're out hiking like I am, having the little packets could be what works best for you rather than trying to carry a bottle of liquid around with you. So you just have to play with it and see what works for you. Other than electrolytes, some of the other things you might try is add more fat. And I'll get more into how to add more fat when there's an actual question here that's talking about fat. And I'll get more into that in just a minute. But you can add more fat. You can, cook in butter or cook in bacon grease. Dump some butter or bacon grease over the top of it. If you're not on the lion diet like I am, you can add some full-fat cheese. There's lots of ways to get extra fat, plus the way I'm going to talk about in the fat question, which is coming up right after this. And the other thing that a lot of people have a problem with, because we've been taught from, the time we were little kids, you only need to eat this much. Portion control, don't eat too much, portion control. We've heard it all our lives. A lot of people are just not eating enough. I noticed, when I was first losing weight, I was having, 2 or 3, sometimes 4 hamburger patties for my meal for the day. And I was losing weight and feeling better, but I didn't have that, that drive of energy that everybody keeps talking about. Well, I upped my actual food intake to where I am now, eating somewhere between, 1 3/4 and 2.5 pounds of meat on my one meal a day. And I do have more energy. Obviously, I'm out here hiking. I just picked up an order from Walmart this morning, and you have to order from a category, and I'm looking forward to one of the roasts. The two of the roasts that I got in were just the standard 2.1, 2.4 pounds. But then there's one that I'm like, oh, that one looks really big, and it was 2.9 pounds, so it's almost a 3-pound roast. I'm looking forward to smashing that one day this week. And I got the 3 roasts, and I just got instead of my big tube of hamburger, I just got some frozen hamburger patties, because this is the 5th week of the month for me for pay cycle. So I had to go as cheap as I could this last week, because I don't get paid till next Friday. For those of you that get paid once a month, you understand those months where you have 5 weeks between paydays are really, really hard compared to the ones that, the 4 weeks seems to just fly right by, but that 5th week really makes it tough sometimes. But yeah, just make sure you're getting enough food, because if you're not getting enough food because you've always been portion controlling and all that, you're not going to get the energy if you're not getting enough food. But the other question I've got a couple more here, but what did I write down here? Asking a question about fat. How much is enough, and is there such thing as too much? Well, we sort of talked about this the other day, and I don't believe there's such a thing as too much fat, because if you're eating fat is the strongest trigger to your satiety hormones. And Yes, if you ignore those, you probably can overeat fat, but you're really going to have to push and stuff yourself to overeat on fat. But the way I like to look at it, when I'm looking at a steak or a roast, before I cook it, is about 1/8 of the meat fat marbled. Does it have big wide chunks of fat in it that equal 1/8 or more of the meat? And that's going to get you to 1/8. Right on 1/8 is going to get you to about a 1.5 to 1. If you're looking for a full 2 to 1, you're going to want to add a little bit of fat to it, or see if you can't find an even thicker slice of fat on the roasts or steaks. But the other way to add fat to your diet and also get more food, more fat in for energy, get to know your butcher. They have fat trimmings, because anytime they put out a roast or a steak, they will cut some of the fat off and throw it in a bin to be normally thrown away. But if you ask them to save it for you, generally they charge somewhere between 50 cents and $1.50 a pound for this stuff. So you can get a lot of fat really cheap, and it'll have a little bit of meat pieces stuck to it too. But what I do, not down here because my air fryer is not down here, but take all that fat, throw it in your air fryer. Now you're going to have to stop several times during the cooking process, and I don't want to say dump the fat. Pour the fat that renders off into a container, because after you're all done, or you can even do it while you're doing it, but you're going to strain that to get all the little bits of stuff out of it, and then that's going to be pure tallow that you can cook in. Extra fat. But then if you keep air frying, keep that process going till those chunks of fat, at some point they're going to turn into little crispy goodness of chunks of fat. I don't like fat if it's not. If I'm eating it with the meat, I like it. But to just, pick up half-cooked fat and eat it, I'm not a big fan of that. But once you get it crispy and get all that excess fat rendered out of it to where you're at, like, it's like pork rinds, only you're making it out of beef fat. Take those little chunks and, of course, let them cool, and then store them. And we'll talk about those in cravings and snacking here in a minute too, but you can, grab a small handful of those and throw them on your plate and eat those with your meal to add more fat. If you're trying to add more fat for energy, you can throw a little handful of those on your plate. Trust me, guys, these are really good. And if you're still a snacky person, you want to snack. I don't snack, but if you're still a snacky person and want to snack, these make really good snacks. And brown butter bites. And I just saw, as I was getting ready to come out today, I haven't watched the video yet, but Ready Set Keto put out a video that said, I think the title was Making Brown Butter Bites So Easy Even I Can Do It. So check into those, and I think you'll find that brown butter bites make a really good snack to add fat as well. But I've got some cravings and some more cravings and snack stuff that we're going to talk about once we get up on top of the hill. But I've been sitting here for about 11.5 minutes, which is a little bit too long, so I'm going to shed this outer layer because my arms started to sweat just on that 2-mile warm-up. So, although now I may leave it on because now the wind is starting to pick up, it's a little cool. But anyway, I will see you guys on up the trail on the next bench at the top of the stairs. I'll probably turn the bob cam on because I'm going to go around that set of stairs that I didn't do, that I did the other time, but I didn't catch the whole trail because there were so many people on it on Saturday. So I'm hoping to turn the bob cam on there and show you some music while I go up those stairs so that you can actually see them this time. But I'll see you on up the trail. And here I am back again. It's like I was never gone. That was a lot of steps. But I'm learn to talk, Bob. I'm on that bench at the top of those steps behind that little building you see right at the end of the footage there. That was a lot of steps. I'm getting a little tired. Not tired, but I can tell. So I'm not going to try and go back that way or do any silly, stupid 6.5, 7 mile hike today. I'm going to go back over across the old wagon path, which will make it about a 5.25 to 5.5 mile day. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about, well, next to last thing, is cravings and snacking. I don't recommend snacking because snacking keeps your insulin high. Take that off while I sit here. Let everything breathe in it. But if you do have to snack, if you just can't get enough food in your evening meal to keep you from wanting to snack on something in front of the TV, the first thing I would do is, if you've got a craving or you're feeling hungry, put a pinch of salt on your tongue. That's what I do, and that normally wipes it out. If that doesn't work for you, have some of those little fat rinds, beef rinds that I just talked about making in the air fryer. Have a few of those. That'll be a good little snack that ups your fat intake and doesn't do anything else. Just eating some butter, or as I spoke about earlier, the brown butter bites. Either of those make excellent snacks. And if you just absolutely, positively have to have, if you've tried all that stuff and you just can't concentrate on anything because the cravings have gotten too big for you, you can either have a keto snack. Make sure it's like a keto fat bomb, so you're getting more fat and protein than you are carbs, but those do have a little bit of carb in them, and there may be some sweetness and enough sweetness in there to satisfy it. But the main thing that I want to talk about at this point, and this is what works strongest for me personally, it may not work as well for you, but when I occasionally get cravings, except for that other night when I got the piece of banana bread, like I said, I can't believe how small a piece that was and caused me to react, but that reinforces what I'm doing. And because of the reminder through joint pain, my why keeps me on track. Why are you doing this? Why am I doing this? Me personally, I'm doing this, originally because I wanted to stand up for more than 2.5 minutes at a time. Well, I've obviously blown way past that. But I have two whys now, especially now that I've had those couple little experiments from Thanksgiving and that little piece of banana bread. I don't want to eat that kind of stuff because it does make my joints hurt. And that's the whole reason I started this to begin with. And my other why I keep pushing forward and don't snack and stick to the lion diet and do all the things that I do, is I want to hike the Appalachian Trail in a couple of years, 2025. I want to through hike the entire thing. I think it's, depending on what year the revisions are and where they've changed the trail at, it's more than 2,100 miles, it's less than 2,200 miles. So we'll leave it at that. Hang on just a second. I'll be right back with you. Hadn't seen anybody else all day, and two groups came wandering by. But you've got to keep your why right in front of you. Like I said, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025. Your why may be completely different. You want to go out and be able to take your dog for a walk. You want to play with your kids, or depending on your age, you want to play with your grandkids, your great-grandkids. Take them to the zoo, take them to the park. Or you want to be able to go out with your friends and do stuff that you haven't been able to do. You have to find the why that works for you. what your strongest why is. And as I've said before, there are some people that just wanting to get healthier and lose a little fat is a strong enough why. But for most people, I don't think that's a strong enough why, a strong enough driver to keep you from cheating and falling off the wagon and all the other things that we call it. But keeping your why right in front of you can help. And if you do all these things and you still fall off the wagon for a day and have a junk food snack, it's not the end of the world, as I've talked about with Thanksgiving and all the things that I've done. Just don't beat yourself up. Get right back on the horse and keep riding down the trail. Don't let yesterday ruin your today, because today is a brand new day, and today is the day you've got a chance to do everything right. But that's about all I've got for this bench. I'm going to go on across the parking lot and take the old wagon path back towards the truck. There's one more bench, so I'll stop and have some final thoughts for you there. I'll see you on down the trail, but it'll be like I was never gone. Well, here I am back on the trail again. I just left that last bench. Not the one I was just sitting on, but I stopped at the last bench, just sat down for a moment, took a drink of water. Decided I wanted to do this last little bit on the bob cam. This is the old wagon path. It's a very easy trail. Although if I recall, I was really complaining about how uphill this was the first time I did it, because I was still back at the 2 to 2.5 mile mark. Now I don't even notice it. Well, I do notice it a little bit, because I'm approaching the 5+ mile mark here. I may have already gone over it. I don't know. I'll check when I get back. But if you have other questions that I did not cover today and did not cover in last night's live stream. Oh, live stream. I remember what I wanted to talk about. Rather than trying to squeeze in yet another live stream for the people overseas, the third Friday of the month, so next Friday's live stream will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central. So that should make it like 5 o'clock in the evening in the UK, 6 o'clock in the evening in Poland. And while still very late or very early, when I start at my normal time, that makes it like 3 in the morning in Australia. So backing it up the 3 hours, while it'll still be midnight over there, at least if they're not an old person like me that goes to bed at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the evening, they could, if they wanted to, stay up and watch it. And I think that's the best way to get everybody covered. Now, of course, this doesn't count the live streams I'm going to start doing inside my membership area. But, yeah. So I wanted to make that live stream announcement. I will have announced it yesterday in the live stream, but I wanted to put it here again so that everybody watching can figure out what time it is for them, and if that one, once a month, will work out better, because I want everybody to have a chance to ask questions live. But I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Don't forget to be 1% better out there today, folks. Have a great day. I will see you on down the trail. Hi guys, I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad you stuck around to the end. I don't really have a whole lot for this section of the video today. I just wanted to say thanks for watching all the way through. Total mileage, they ended up being 5.19, so it was just a little over 5 miles, so that the direction I went when I turned to the right and started up those stairs must be a hair shorter than going to the left and on up to the top of the stairs, because I believe it was like 5.34 miles when I went to the left, and it was less today, but there were a lot of steps there, so that's certainly a good day. But anyway, I hope you all had a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.